So I would like to start my presentation asking you guys a question, which is, have you ever wondered how will cars be in 100 years forward? So I don't know if any one of you already have a prepared answer for that, but I would like to ask another one. So have you ever thought or have you ever wondered what people 100 years before or like ago used to think how will cars be nowadays? So back in that time, cars would be something like this, which are strange machines, and it was very we didn't even understand how they could manage to go forward and backwards. So 100 years after that, we have reached the nowadays car, which can travel a lot faster and a lot and longer distances also. And maybe in 100 years we shall reach this thing here, which is a very beautiful model of car which flies and travels even faster and longer distances. However, the point isn't, well, talking about cars here. So the point is, people used to think maybe 100 years ago, and we also used to think nowadays that having such cars will actually change something maybe in our life. And it actually did. Well, we can now travel faster and longer distances. But it hadn't actually added to much more than that. So the point is, all the progress we have made with such cars, is it really applicable to something actually meaningful to society? So the point of my presentation, as the title here shows us, how progressing might be regressing. So to start contextualizing things, I would like to explain what is progress. First of all, so progress is understanding, we understand it as if it was something good, as the image here shows. The public goes up, so it's getting better, it's getting every time more evolved, more developed, more advanced. On the other hand, we have regress, which is, well, we understand it as if it was something bad, the opposite of progress. So it's evolution, it's setback, it's decline, it's something that's getting worse. So this is represented in this chart here, in which the pigeon asks what's the opposite of regress, and the other, which is very academic, answers all those good adjectives which are always meaning something good. So why is it that? We might start to wonder, for example, that in our society we see progress as if it was something really good. For example, we see progress as associated with technological development. For example, it develops new technologies, and also it betters our everyday life. For example, with new machinery and new equipment, which are getting from the ancient and worse to the modern and new ones and better ones. We also associate it with the development of the places we live, the better it gets for our life. Also the health development, I mean, just like new medicines are being developed, we are every time getting less threatened by diseases and so on. Also the scientific development, I mean, just like discovering new parts of the brain, new particles, I don't know, how black holes work, for example. We generally understand progress as if it was something that makes us climb, that makes us go from the monkeys we were, which walked in 4 feet, to the tall man who stands in 2-1. So we see progress as if it was basically the solution for our problems, for our issues. However, what we don't see from progress usually is the problems it generates in our society, in our community, and in the environment, for example, which is in this case trash and also pollution, which has come from the industrial era and all those consuming things we have nowadays. Also, we don't see progress as if it was something new after all. Maybe when we have gone from this monkey who walks in 4 feet, we have ended up being humans who don't actually know how to survive in the wild anymore, and don't actually know how to do anything. Basically, we're restricted to an end of work, where we have to basically stay in school for 10 hours per day, I don't know, 40 hours per week for the work. We don't see that we have actually destroyed the place where we live in, and we're destroying it right now. And we don't see maybe that, well, we have generated a lot of social problems such as, well, unemployment and forced labor, also social inequality, which is very well represented in this image here, which is also in Brazil, by the way. So the main point here is, well, this question, if progress is actually really the solution we have for all the issues that we assume in our society. So to start I mean, to start proving the point better, I would like to tell you some real stories, which begins with this guy here, Robert Oppenheimer. In case, I don't know, if you don't know him, he was this guy here, very famous scientist on the end of the 1930s, on the beginning of the 1940s decade. So he took part in a very famous and important project, which was the Manhattan Project, which was very interesting in investigating this reaction here, which, in case you don't understand, is uranium-235, which is a very radioactive and unstable isotope from uranium. And if you bomb it with neutrons, it will start a chain reaction, which would release energy and will decay and so on. And this energy is basically used to produce this. Well, if you don't know what's this is the bombing of 2 Japanese cities, which killed 160,000 Japanese men and women in the space of 3 days in the end of the World War II. Basically, all the scientific development Robert Oppenheimer did and all the scientific development from Project Manhattan was used with a single purpose of killing 160,000 people, which, well, we have also James Watt, which is also a very famous scientist. He's this guy here. Well, he developed the technology for vapor machines and for cold machines which work through, well, vapor and cold. So we used to see James Watt as if he was some genius who actually helped us a lot and, well, increased in our industrial production and so on. But we don't see that, well, he might be the main charged for environmental issues and social issues, such as, for example, the air pollution and also the unemployment of people who basically run out of jobs when the machines started to be produced massively. So if after all this presentation and all these points we see that progress isn't exactly the good thing we used to think it was, so what will it be then? What's the alternative if it's not progress? So if you type different lifestyles on Google or wherever, you find such images such as this one, which is just like a guy walking on his bicycle, and this doesn't tell anything about, well, different lifestyles that we live. We also might find images such as this one, which is, well, go walking on mountains, and I don't know, but, well, also this one, which, yeah, it's another person walking on a mountain, so the question is it that really showing us a different lifestyle and different alternative? So we also might think of different lifestyles we have in our current world, in our society. We have, for example, Indians. They live in a lot simpler way. They are, I mean, their lives, they don't hurt too much. They aren't just like so harmful to the environment, and they might live even happier than we do. We also have minimalism, which is a lifestyle we try to live by consuming the less and the minimum possible things. So we might ask the whole thing that maybe Indians and maybe minimalist people, what's the point in this? This is just like, do they live maybe better than us? For example, I would like to ask you all a question, which is, are you happy with the lives you have, for example, working, I don't know, we stay maybe 14 hours per week in the school, and probably and very likely this wouldn't change in the future. I mean, we will still working 40 hours per week on our future, on our work and so on, when we have jobs, I mean. So is it really this type of life that we want to have? Is it really working 40 hours per week the only alternative which is left for our generation and for our future? So to start concluding things, I would like to say, well, that through all those points, that progressing might be regressing, that progressing isn't exactly that good thing we used to think it was. So I would like to start concluding by saying basically the main point of my presentation, which is progressing is regressing, but not only that. We've proven for that maybe not only is progressing regressing, but also that regressing might be progressing, and that's it. Thank you.